Have C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Ryans and company made Houston a prime destination as free agency approaches? And should Xavier Howard be brought to town? Lots to get into, plus a philosophical divide between the most prominent media types in town. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.
All right, Houston as a destination. What a difference a year makes. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610, and on the Odyssey app. So we've talked about free agency here. We've talked about the Texans tax of the past when this organization was being run extremely poorly. But now it appears that Houston could actually be a pretty big destination when it comes to free agents. Mike Evans, Saquon Barkley, there's a lot of names that come out. Christian Wilkins, Patrick Queen, it seems like with the cap space and with players' willingness to come here, that Texans place has been, or the Texans organization has become a place where a lot of people are interested in playing. Now we will find out whether or not that makes it a thing, whether it matters or not. But there is like a philosophical divide. And right on cue, JRob8619, please stop talking about Mike Evans. It doesn't make logical sense to get him. I think it just kind of depends on who you ask. Like, what is logical sense? What is the price? What is your logic? Do you already think Nico Collins is a number one? Do you not think they need depth? Do you not think it's possible that Mike Evans, based on what we've spoken on, would perhaps come to Houston for maybe a little bit of a lower price? You have 4 wide receivers on rookie deals. You have a quarterback on a rookie deal. You've invested pretty much all the prime assets, at least for the short term, that you can invest in the offensive line. Like, what is this logical sense that we speak of? That would be my question. Like, what is logical sense? Just elaborate. You can elaborate, Jay. You got fingers, I think, right? This isn't Twitter. You're not limited to X amount of characters. Tell me the logic why it does not make sense, because I can hear it out. On one hand, you will say that the Texans have a couple of good receivers that they like, although one of them's had one good year sample size, although it was the only year that he had a quarterback. The other one got hurt in the middle of it. Where is the logical sense, the lack of logical sense when it comes to Mike Evans? I think there are people that agree with you, including Seth Payne and Sean Pendergast, who we'll hear from in a second. I absolutely love their thoughts on Mike Evans. By the way, T. Higgins, y'all brought it up. T. Higgins has been tagged, so it looks like Cincinnati's going to run it back with their duo. So we'll see what goes on with that. Let's get into this philosophical divide at Sports Radio 610. And it all started with John Lopez. And John Lopez and me are never 100% aligned on things like free agency and all that type of stuff. But he's throwing out the possibility of Saquon Barkley and Mike Evans. Now, Seth Payne and Sean Pendergast disagree. They think Lopez is a little bit reckless. And this was the quote that set Payne and Pendergast off, which you can see right here on YouTube, here on the Odyssey app, and on Twitch. This was the John Lopez quote that kind of set them off this morning.
I feel like they are the epitome.
And
This never goes good. Like I said, you're going to make me fight with them. I feel like they're the epitome of the mindset that is hard to shake in this town. Like Seth literally said, limited budget. It's not an unlimited budget, but there are only 5 teams that have more money to spend than the Houston Texans this year.
All right. So there you go. That's Lopez breaking that down. I don't think there's like a scarred mindset of Texans fans anymore. I think there might have been even up to the Browns game, and I don't. Again, different fans, but I think Lopez is kind of the one that's living in the past, assuming that. I don't think this is a scarred fan base anymore. I think that's been moved on from. So I actually don't side with Lopez on that. I do find it pretty fascinating. And J. Rob's back on the Mike Evans thing. We have to pay Nico for one. I don't want to give a long-term deal to someone who is over 30 if it affects Nico's long-term deal. What do you have to pay? Do you know what Nico is already? And why does that stop you? The Bengals are about to pay Jamar Chase, and they're going to tag T. Higgins. You have, again, 4 wide receivers. Like people think they're sounding smart when they say this, but you're not really looking at what the roster is right now. You have 4 wide receivers on rookie deals. You're going to have to pay Nico, right? You're not going to have to pay CJ Stroud for probably 2 more years. You've already invested on your offensive line. Maybe next year we're having a different discussion and they got to figure something out. Running backs aren't expensive. So I don't know what this means. Like, do you have to pay Nico Collins? That's why you probably front in the deal of Mike Evans. If you end up paying Nico Collins, but are teams paying one receiver? Is that the rule? Tank Dell's still on his rookie deal. Jaguars were paying 3 weapons for Trevor Lawrence in his rookie season. They're paying 3. Or his second season, I should say. Are they going to let Calvin Ridley go? Are they going to trade Christian Kirk? No, they're not. So, I mean, it sounds smart to say that, but if you actually look at the outlook of the roster, it doesn't necessarily stop you. We don't know what the price is going to be. And I also think I don't like generalizations, and I don't like let's be honest. We all, including myself, all of us, like, you take examples and you use them to fit what you're saying. I'm guilty of it. But generalizing Mike Evans as just a receiver over 30, I think you're being extremely disrespectful to something that we've never seen before. Could he end up falling off? Absolutely. Do I necessarily think that if the price is going to be 4 years, $80 million, that the Texans should do that? No, I'm not pounding the table for it. I'm not completely dismissing it, though. Especially knowing that this next year, Nico Collins and Tank Dell are going to be playing on rookie contracts of day 2 rookies. They don't even have 5th-year options. So you can kind of front end it. You can manipulate. This notion that you can only pay one receiver. I do think there can be some bargains that I'll get into. And it's what I call the Dalton Schultz theory. How last year's perhaps prized signing, or one of them, could be brought back this year. And I also think there's good options in the draft at wide receiver. So I can hear that out. I like Franklin of Oregon. I don't even necessarily know that Franklin of Oregon doesn't come in here and establish himself as the top receiver. It wouldn't be the craziest thing that I've seen. But we have to pay Nico. Why? For 1 year? Were you one of those guys saying Dameon Pierce is going to be a Pro Bowl running back after 1 year? I like Nico. He's a friend of the show. I enjoy Nico Collins. 100%. But 1 year, we have to pay him? You were probably one of those guys saying Jalen Petry's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, right? After 1 year? Don't you want to see a little bit more before you start saying stuff like that? I look, if you have to pay Nico Collins over $20 million next year, more power to him. He earned it. But let's tap the brakes after 1 year and acting like, because you can bring in a Hall of Fame guy who's still performing, perhaps at as high of a level as Nico Collins, that you have financial flexibility because of where your investments are on offense. Let's slow down on generalizing Mike Evans is just some effing 30-year-old. Like he's some sort of chump. And let's also, me personally, I would like to see 2 good years from Nico Collins. 2. I mean, is that too much to ask? I hope you got more logic than that, Jay. you can just lay out your case. The only reason I'm coming hard at you is because you says it makes no logical sense. You didn't make any sense with what you said, my friend. Sean Pendergast and Seth Payne, they reacted to John Lopez, and this is where I get interesting. I've been known to instigate a little bit. I like to navigate. I like to instigate. So here was what their reaction was to John Lopez saying that they were the epitome of what's wrong with the fan base, which, by the way, I disagree with. Here was Payne and Pendergast's reaction.
Hey, it's Mike Evans and it's Saquon Barkley.
Right.
Yeah. You don't want to sign those two guys specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I've been pretty clear. Like I'm not anti Mike Evans signing. Like I'm not anti Saquon Barkley. I think I'm probably a little more on the Barkley train than you are, Seth. But
I don't want to spend stupid money. I'm
cool
cool with spending money. But this is the problem with the Mike Evans signing, and I would love Mike Evans. But if you sign Mike Evans, a 31-year-old wide receiver, to a big contract, to a position where you already have two really good young players, I don't think people understand exactly like what the roster looks like right now and how much it's going to cost. Actually, I know for a fact.
Okay, really? Like, I don't understand that. Like what the roster looks like. I just laid it out. Four rookie deal wide receivers, the offensive line invested in a quarterback on a rookie deal. I that's the part I don't agree with on Seth. I do like that he's balancing it out. Lopez is definitely the extreme. There's no middle ground with Lopez. And he's using words like epitome and stuff like that. So I side with Seth on that. Here's more from Payne and Pendergast as the philosophy war. This is the fun stuff, man. We got the combine next week. We got all this. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. We've been rolling strong ever since I started this. You guys know this. It's been consistent content on top of the radio show. Consistent Texans content. None of that click chase. Just good discussion. All that good Texans content. And I appreciate everyone for coming through. I'm getting to the comments. I'm marking to the comments. We'll be sure to get that. Be sure to comment on the video below. But here was more from Seth and Sean as this philosophical war, should I say, is breaking out as free agency is upcoming.
The thing with Mike Evans is going to be that I think he's still so good or / good enough that all it takes is 2 or 3 teams to really want him and feel like he's the linchpin or he's the key to really putting him over the top. One of those teams very well might be Tampa, because they're going to say, well, if we're going to try to make it go with Baker Mayfield, there's no way in hell that we're not going to have Mike Evans here.
That's
too.
Right.
It's that I don't think he's going to be available at a discount. I think he is a classic guy of like a team where people say, yeah, he's old. But, the cautionary tale here. And another thing that Lopez said yesterday was like, well, these guys bring up these, these rare exceptions or these rare examples. No, the vast majority of free agency signings don't work out. The majority of guys who sign 3-year deals don't play out, don't last 3 years on the team. The majority of guys who sign 4-year deals don't last 4 years on the team. Like, it is not a slam dunk guaranteed thing at all. So It's not the exception at all.
No, that's 100% correct. But I will say this, like, if Mike Evans is going to continue to perform the only way in which we've seen him perform, then, and that's a big if perhaps, but if that's the case, then it's relatively kind of a bargain, especially if Tank Dell's going to be what he's been or what he was when he was on the field for the next few years. Like a lot of times, there's like the Ndamukong Suhs, the Byron Jones, like there's like a lot of times it's like unrealized potential, or it's guys past their prime. I think we're just assuming this with Mike Evans. I don't even know that you're bringing Mike Evans in to be your top guy. He might be. Some might bet on it, but the Bengals just franchise tag T. Higgins. I know he's younger. They're going to be paying him, assuming that they run with that over 21 mil. Now Chase is still on his rookie deal. They're going to have to figure out something there. But I get what Seth is trying to say. And here's more of it. Keep the comments coming. The philosophy war continues.
I'm all for paying guys in their prime, impact players, good money if they feel like they're a good bet, but understand that it's a bet. But also understand this. And one thing that I heard those guys talking about yesterday was like, well, yeah, but the guys are replacing. It's no big deal. I'll go ahead and say, yeah, we're the adults here, Sean, because we understand actually how much NFL players cost these days. We're not kids in a candy shop being like, I want that and that and that. Yeah. Now, Dad, go take me. I want a car. Oh, I'm not going to get a used car for my 16th birthday.
Okay. I guess he's not really completely wrong about that, but I do like, we're talking about like these 30 free agents. We're talking about guys like they're going to fill a roster. Like there's these other needs that we talk about. They're going to fill a roster. Like if they sign Mike Evans and Saquon Barkley, it's not going to stop them from filling a roster. Not even saying that I'm going for that, but I don't know. Here's more from Sean and Seth.
Yeah, I'm all look. And here's the thing: sometimes when you get into debates like this, it's like there's an implication that Lopez wants to go spend the money, and we want to somehow save the money, like we can put it in an IRA or something like that. Yeah. Like, no, I'm all for spending all their cap money this offseason. I just wouldn't spend it on a tippy top contract for Mike Evans and a tippy top contract for Saquon Barkley. I don't think that's I don't think that's a smart use of those resources.
Right.
I would go tippy top on Patrick Queen. I would go tippy top on Christian Wilkins on the interior of the defensive line. Like I would splurge and pay what the market is for those guys past the age.
So you would pay $17-18 million for Patrick Queen. The Wilkins I can kind of hear, but I would argue this. Like, if you're arguing about reckless money, like let's say you give Mike Evans a 2 or 3 year deal or whatever with close to $20 million. I think there's a case to be made. Like when we go through, like when Seth is talking about these free agency contracts where you're getting 5-year deals and they only last 3 or 4. The Wilkins and the Queen deals, that the bad free agent deals look a lot more like that than they do Mike Evans. And what are we talking about with Saquon Barkley? I feel like some people are talking about the running back position, and by some people, I'm talking about Sean and Seth. I feel like they're talking about the running back position like someone would talk about big screen TVs 20 years ago when they cost thousands of dollars. When there's times when big screen TVs were like extremely expensive. Now you can go to freaking Walmart and get a big screen TV for like $200. Like, if we not watched what's happened to the running back market, these guys are undervalued now. Their impact's the same. They're undervalued. I can hear you on Christian Wilkins. I can hear that. But you want to pay Patrick Queen $18 million and then you want to talk about like being smart? That would, to me, would be the most reckless move that could be made. Now, if D'Amico has like something that he sees in Patrick Queen and he thinks that figures out, I have blind faith in the organization where whatever they do, I support them. Maybe it's the honeymoon phase still. But if you're talking like if you're gonna have the kids while the adults speak, sit crisscross applesauce and listen to you tell me about reckless money and the history and all that type of stuff, and then bring up paying Patrick Queen at linebacker $18 million, $17, whatever it's going to cost, that's crazy to me. That is a prototypical crazy move. Saquon Barkley is going to get what, $10, $11 million a year? Took a team to the playoffs 2 years ago. I hear about like durability and stuff. I think Saquon the last 3 years has played one less game than Derrick Henry. You can check me on that. I think he's played more games than Josh Jacobs. Like, these guys have one injury season and all of a sudden they get labeled injury prone. He missed a year. It happens. It's dangerous. It's not like he's in and out of the lineup. Now, you could talk about, like I've talked about Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa's missed quite like multiple games in the last couple of years. Not Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, excuse me. These running backs are bargains right now. These are big screen TVs, man. Impact's there. Now, how good do you think Saquon is? That's another discussion on itself. I think he's pretty good. I think this would be a good situation for him. But I also look at the layout of the offense and what they're investing, and I look at that. But Patrick Queen, that is the ultimate hell no for me. Here's the final piece of audio from the philosophy war, and we'll get into Xavier Howard being on the market, his history, and all that. And James Harden, 3-time defensive player of the year, which is interesting. He says Queen had a good year, but he's not Roquan Smith or Fred Warner. Well, you're going to have to pay him like that. You're going to have to pay him like that if you want to bring him in. I think that's the definition of bad bread. Here's the final piece of audio from the philosophy war. We'll get Lopez talking about it. And listen to Stoots too. Smash the damn like button. I'm not sitting here saying, "Hey, just smash the damn like button." Go out of here. Like the video. I don't beg for likes enough. But here is Seth, his final piece of the rant.
If I'm going to spend exorbitantly at the top of the market, it's going to be at impact positions with guys who are healthy as hell and who I feel really good about are going to handle the money well too. Defensive end, linebacker, tight end, not wide receiver this year. Tripling down on wide receiver right now instead of spending money on an edge rusher or a linebacker or a tight end or something like that. That's just stupid.
Edge rusher, linebacker, tight end. Okay. As opposed to a running back? Okay. I mean, I like Bosa and I like Fred Warner. Do they make the impact that Christian McCaffrey does? And again, we're generalizing positions here. That's the other thing. Like, we're generalizing positions. Like, that was generalizing of positions. Like with the 49ers, like they got an elite edge rusher, they got an elite linebacker, and they got an elite running back in Christian McCaffrey. Again, you might not think that Saquon Barkley is a good player. That's another issue on itself. But for the sake of addressing what exactly was said, if we're generalizing players, like, who has the bigger impact? Like, if the 49ers had to be without Bosa or Warner or Christian McCaffrey, which one do you think they would want to be without? I mean, I'm just asking. Tight end, like who? Like, I'm hearing this, like this is the other thing. And this is the thing that drives me nuts during draft talk, is where someone will say, well, they don't need that. They need an edge rusher. Okay, who? Sometimes they're not available. Like, think about the three positions he just said. Defensive lineman, okay, we can go Christian Wilkins, we can go Matabike if he's going to be out there. Okay. Those are the only really expensive guys, right? Other than that, like, you're looking at guys, you're not breaking bread for any of these other guys. Maybe Danielle Hunter. I don't know. But like the specific like way that this free agent market is laid out, like, there's a few D linemen that you're breaking bread for, right? You're not breaking bread for Saquon. Tight end, Dalton Schultz is the best tight end on the market. What are you going to give him? 3 years, $30 million, something like that? You're not breaking bread for him either. Edge rusher, tell me who. Like, are you saying if you want to trade for Brian Burns and like, who are we talking about? I want a bargain shop. I want either Khalil Mack or Nick Bosa, whichever one's gone. Kick the tires on that. But I don't know who the specific guys we're talking about are. And I don't think that Saquon Barkley, I don't think you're breaking bread relative to what the impact can be for one of these big running backs. I just don't get that. That's my confusion on this. So just tell me who we're talking about. I like Saquon Barkley. I'm a fan. I like Seth Payne and Sean Pendergast too. You should too. 6 to 10 a.m. on Sports Radio 610. So Xavier Howard is on the market. Should the Texans sign Xavier Howard? Like, what type of caliber player are we talking about in Xavier Howard? I mean, we're talking about a guy who has been a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's 30 years old. He would be your number 2 corner. He's from Houston. He's a 2-time All-Pro, and he's about 30 years old. So him and Steven Nelson are relatively the same age. Steven Nelson's coming off a better season, although there was turmoil in Miami, and it seemed like all those players hated Vic Fangio. Laramie Tunsil was on Twitter. Laramie Tunsil made a case for Xavier Howard. This was what Laramie Tunsil said. Howard times Stingley equals smoke. So Laramie Tunsil making it clear he's kind of a fan of what Xavier Howard brings to the table. So one of the leaders of this squad, Laramie Tunsil, is making it clear that he likes Xavier Howard, and they played together in Miami. AO Noah on Twitter put this up. So they've been tight for a while. Laramie Tunsil and Xavier Howard. I like the possibility. I think there's going to be a certain level of hunger. I think the expectations are lowered. I think he would be playing for a guy that he will love in D'Amico Ryans. I think he's kind of a ball hawk type of guy. Double-digit interceptions a few years ago. And on the other hand, I think Steven Nelson's kind of eating the cheese right now. He's doing that podcast where he chews gum and kind of they just ramble on. They don't have any organization. He's pushing it. You could tell he was kind of disappointed on NFL Network the other day that like 50% of the dialogue was CJ stuff. I just think if you're going to bring in like churn the roster, I think this would be a good move. Xavier Howard. Tunsil seems to think so as well. I think it'd be a good fit. I don't know about whether he's cooked or not, but I think he would be a good fit. Lover O'Git says, I saw Stingley posted 24 times 21. Apparently he wants to stick with Steven Nelson. He's being nice. I don't know what that meant. Maybe that's what it meant. I'm not sure what that meant. Maybe he's changing his number. Maybe Derek Stingley's changing his number. I don't know. But Laramie Tunsil made his opinion clear. I'm not sure what Steven Nelson thinks. But yeah, I'm intrigued by the possibility of Xavier Howard. I have no idea what Derek Stingley meant. What exactly Derek Stingley was saying. I could have been talking about Steven Nelson. Could have been just being nice. I don't know. Stingley doesn't tweet a lot, so maybe there's something there. I know DJ Bieniemy has said that already that Xavier's interested. I've been hearing that for years. This is what Stingley said, 24 and 21 lock. So, yeah, maybe he wants to roll it back with Steven Nelson. Maybe just being nice. Who knows? I like the possibility of Xavier Howard or someone else. I want someone else that's going to come in hungry. I respect what Steven Nelson did. They don't get where they got without him, but I do think they need to at least entertain that possibility. For sure. If you're talking about Steven Nelson's age, I mean, Xavier Howard's around the same age. So maybe you're saying no to either one of those guys. I think Howard is slightly younger than Nelson, not by much at all. So there you go. We'll see what happens. The Steven Nelson stuff is interesting. The podcast thing is hilarious, though. Man, I can't believe he's putting that tape out. Here's I got some messages about like Xavier Howard off-field issues and stuff like that. I don't know if he has like off-field. I mean, I know he's had some issue with some chicks. This was an interesting headline on TMZ. The woman sues NFL star, accusing him of giving her herpes, which is not good. There's been some other stuff as well. So does him coming home to Houston, is that a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know that that's like a deal breaker or anything like that. I actually thought it was pretty funny when it happened. I thought the whole thing was pretty interesting. I'm fine with Nelson coming back for the right price. I'm more worried about running back in DT. Yeah, Steven Nelson had a good year last year. You think that's going to continue? Is there like some younger corners? We're talking about Mike Evans, who's one of one, who's done something that no one has ever done. And, he's in his 30s. Now you're paying marquee price. I don't think you're paying marquee price for Xavier Howard or Steven Nelson, but do those guys end up being bargains? That's an interesting situation, to say the very least. But he does have interest in Houston. Saw DJ Bieniemy threw that out. So the financial layout of the Texans offense, I want to restate this real quick before I get to a dream scenario. And by the way, tomorrow's sign or decline is going to be Xavier Howard. I'm going to discuss this with Cody Stutes. Be on the lookout for that to drop about noon. And then we'll get into some Frankie L that everyone seems to want. D'Amico's dream linebacker, perhaps. We'll get into that one probably on Sunday in that installment of sign or decline here in the locker room. So let's just lay out this Texans offensive situation, because I don't know that it's really getting enough run or as much run as it should. And a lot of you guys are asking me questions that you could Google. Like I know, like, I appreciate everyone for coming through. I'm not going to like call people out for names, but I mean, you're asking in the comments, like, what's this guy's contract situation and what's the cap situation, brother? It's real easy. Just type it in. You can check that out. That's easy. I'm not a like, it's like sometimes people will call into the radio show and they'll call poor Figgy, who's the best in the world at what he do. Shout out to Figgy at the Figgy Fig. And they'll be like, hey, what was the score of the game last night? Brother, look it up. Quit asking questions that you can look up. This is an interactive thing. These people have opinions, like, in here on the game. They don't need to look up stuff that you don't know. If you don't know, go check it out. Please. But the questions are good. I love the questions. I'm marking them. We'll get to those at the end. But if you can Google it and look it up, brother. It's easy. I mean, it's easy to do. So let's just look through, like, when I hear all this, like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, and then I hear like a generalization of a position. Let's just reset this. Like, let's just give a visual of the Texans offense. So you have CJ Stroud on his rookie deal for a few more years, probably 4. You're probably going to agree to the extension after year 3. It's going to be expensive. Who knows how large of a chunk it is, but that's what's going to happen. So you have CJ Stroud on a rookie deal right now, and who knows if 2 of these guys will even be here after camp next year. You have 4 wide receivers on rookie deals. Nico Collins for 1 more year, Tank Dell for 3 more, Xavier Hutchinson for 3 more, and John Mechie for 2. So you have that. You're fully invested in the O-line right now, for better or worse. You're not going to pay big money for a tackle in the short term. Definitely probably not for the next 2 years. You've invested pretty decent draft equity for interior lineman, and Shaq Mason got paid. So you're fully invested there for better or worse. Like that is set. Now, this time next year, are we talking about them addressing something on the interior? Possibly so. But you're fully invested there, specifically at the tackles, which is typically the most expensive. So you got to spend some sort of money. Right? Especially with how stuff is shaped up. You got to spend some sort of money, right? I mean, I would think so. Here's Zay right here talking about the running back. Star running back isn't needed when you have a superstar quarterback. Okay. So what does that mean? Like if you can get Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs at a bargain, you just don't get it? You just say, okay, go. See, that's dangerous right there. That's a dangerous mindset because when I hear that, I think about the Indianapolis Colts. Oh, we don't need to look at this because we have Andrew Luck. We don't need to worry about the O-line. Who cares about a running game? Not needed, like based on what? If you can go get it, you can go get it. Again, it's about the price. You're probably going to use like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes as the example. Okay. You don't think the Chiefs wanted a star running back? They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. You don't think they wanted that? It didn't work out because they probably should have gone with Jonathan Taylor. But they drafted a running back in the first round with the star quarterback. Didn't work out, but they thought they needed a star running back. They thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be a star. He wasn't. Patriots drafted Sony Michel in the first round. They had running backs. They had multiple Super Bowls. They drafted him in the first freaking round. So you can say you don't need it, and I agree that a quarterback can overcome a lot of things, but even like the two examples that I'm sure you're focused on, they tried. They just failed. It wasn't because they just said, oh, we got Patrick Mahomes. We don't need a running back. Use the first round pick on him. Patriots did the same thing. Patriots traded for Corey Dillon early in the Brady era. They churned the running backs. So that doesn't, I don't agree with that. Isn't needed? What does that mean? Just ignore it? This is dumb. Singletary is more capable, and we have other holes to fill. Defense wins championships. Okay. More than capable. That's what you want. We just need a running back. It's more than capable. Defense wins championships. Is that true? You just said that you don't even need to look on offense with a star quarterback, sir. I don't get that. Vincent Marks brings up a good point. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like a Hall of Famer week one of that 2020 season. God, that was painful to watch. People disagreeing on the star running back thing. I don't understand what that I mean, that's just kind of silly. But I do appreciate the interaction. J-Rock, star running back, 100% needed. Don't care how good the QB is. A star running back will always be big for a QB. Yeah. Especially when it's a bargain right now. They need a run game. They need to run the ball. However they run the ball, they're going to find a way to run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball. More than capable? What are we talking about? More than capable? I don't want a running back that's more than capable. I want a stud. I don't get that at all. So I have a Dalton Schultz theory, and I talked about this in today's Sign or Decline. The most proud that I was about of Nick Caserio last year, it wasn't when he drafted CJ Stroud. It wasn't even when he traded up for Will Anderson. The most proud I was of Nick Caserio was when he let the tight end market play out. And once it played out, he went out and got Dalton Schultz. I thought that showed patience. I thought that showed flexibility. I thought that showed an initial firm stance and then a willingness to be somewhat aggressive based on what the market says. And I also thought it was a good job of taking advantage of an opportunity to give you flexibility in the draft. Because we knew the Texans needed a tight end last year. The draft was stacked. And ideally, that second round pick, I mean, there was some good tight ends available. You didn't know if Kincaid was going to be available. Buffalo had already taken him. Laporta was there. There were a lot of tight ends, but because you had Schultz, maybe you were more willing to trade that pick. The market spoke to Schultz because initially I think the projection for Schultz was like 3 years, $30 million, something like that. But because the tight end draft class last year was so stacked, teams weren't willing to pay big money on tight ends. So Nick Caserio saw that play out. He saw the opportunity and went and got Dalton Schultz. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was a really good job by Nick Caserio. I applaud him for that. I wonder if the wide receiver market is going to be the same thing this year. And this can be also used as a case against Mike Evans. Because this wide receiving core in the draft is crazy. I'm starting to fall in love with Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Like, I'm starting to be open to the Texans perhaps taking a wide receiver in the first round. Even if they do what I'm about to mention. But I do wonder, like, these wide receivers, like especially the second tier ones or the ones that aren't considered elite. And I would say Dalton Schultz is really good. He's not elite. But you look at some of these receivers, and maybe this even happens to Mike Evans to a certain point, with teams thinking that they can get a wide receiver in the draft instead of bringing in Mike Evans. And maybe that allows the Texans to get Mike Evans at a much lower price than we think that they're going to get him at. But I'm looking at guys like Hollywood Brown. I'm looking at guys like Curtis Samuel. I don't see these guys getting these 3-year, $40 million deals that maybe in a weaker market they would have a chance to get. I could see these guys ending up having to settle for 1-year deals like Dalton Schultz did last year. And I wonder if these guys who haven't necessarily been in the best situations. Hollywood Brown was in an offense that really didn't lean on the wide receivers, and he was in a train wreck of a situation in Arizona. I wonder if, like, maybe Hollywood Brown or Curtis Samuel could be guys that you look at and you say, man, this guy's a bargain, because the draft is set up the same way at the wide receiver position as it was at tight end last year. And I wonder if Nick Caserio kind of sits back and we get kind of a remix of that to where Bobby Slowick has an extra wide receiver to work with. And I don't even think that these scenarios, I don't think they eliminate you from potentially drafting a wide receiver. You know, and I don't know when Xavier Worthy out of Texas is going to go. It looks like he's probably going to fall to day 2. That might be a guy too that you look at that can do Hollywood Brown type of things. Kind of an explosive guy. But some of these guys, I think the market is going to speak to a lot of these wide receivers like it did for Dalton Schultz last year. And I wonder if that would present Nick Caserio with maybe an opportunity and Bobby Slowick to figure out some stuff. I think they could do some fun things with Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown. And I mean, it would be the best situation that both of those players would be in. They come in, maybe try to prove themselves and maybe try to figure out what they can do. But I could easily see that situation with Dalton Schultz, like history kind of repeating himself with those types of guys. I think that would be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. For sure. That's the Schultz theory. I don't know how y'all feel about that or not, but it might even work out with the Mike Evans thing. But I would keep a close eye on that wide receiver market. Some of these guys are going to get spoken to, especially with this wide receiver core. I saw that Jeremiah said that this if you eliminate positional value, that the top 3 players in this draft could be wide receivers. Troy Franklin, man, You draft Troy Franklin, there's a chance he ends up being your best receiver. Who knows? And you can still get those bargain guys. They've got to improve their depth at wide receiver. I think we can all agree on that. We ain't going to agree on much, but I think we can all agree at the very least on that for sure. And there's draft. There's all kinds of philosophies. There's all kinds of possibilities depending on where you fall in that area. Finish up with some comments. Appreciate everyone for coming through. This is a really fun off season, and it's only going to get more fun as the combine begins next week. Joe Blue asks, would you rather trade for Ayuk? I think I would rather pay Ayuk over Nico. No, I'm good on that. I think they're kind of in the same class. I think CJ has chemistry with him. I'm good on that. And look, man, like I get that everyone has like different emotions, but man, if you're whining and complaining in San Francisco after you lose a game and you lose the Super Bowl in overtime, I kind of got to question you. I think that's a little bit childish. You could have kept that behind closed doors. I know emotions are emotions. That I'm good on that. I don't want to trade whatever it would take to acquire him. And I think Nico's kind of potentially in that same type of category. So I don't think that would be like some sort of home run trade. I'm good on that. Collectibles says we need like an Andre Johnson type player because we got Tank. He is speed. Nico is a blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. We need an Andre Johnson type player. Okay. I agree. Sure. Yeah. Hall of Famer, best player in, well, arguably the best player in franchise history. Yeah, we need that guy. Let's go get that guy. Good idea. Andy, I also wonder if a budget wide receiver addition with CJ's accuracy gives you more than you think. I think that's kind of going back to the Schultz theory. Devin, how is signing either of those two stupid money, but you want to break the bank with the DO and or linebacker adults to sound too logical? Yeah, you're talking about the Sean and Seth thing. That was where they lost me. I don't hate the philosophy, but the deals that they're talking about, I think, are the prime examples of money poorly spent. Troy Franklin is our number one realistic target for receiver in the draft. He's about to tear the combine up. I agree. I don't even know if he's going to be there. If he's there, that'd be great. I don't know that he's going to be there. I see someone falling in love with him. You might have to go up and get him. Frankie L. We're going to talk about him on Sunday. John Crumpler wrote a really good piece on him if you want to go check that out. I'll actually link that in the video on Sunday. This cap increase, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's got the cap increase. So, yeah, it's good for the Texans. It's good for everyone. It's not like they just got the cap increase. What do you think about trading up for Bowers if he falls to the mid-late teens? Like they've been mocking lately, probably have to give up our second-round pick and a fifth or something. I don't know. I mean, that's interesting. And I'm not opposed. I don't know what the cost would be. I don't know if he falls. I don't like that. I saw some people talking about him going top 5. I just find that crazy, especially with how good these top end receivers are and what the Chargers need. I could see him falling a little bit. The trade up. Who knows? Who knows how much they love him? I do think he helps your run game too, though. I just want to draft. I just want to draft a Texas Longhorn. Got to get someone from that team. So you're thinking Byron Murphy on the D line in the first round, perhaps. Devondre Sweat on day 2. Adonai Mitchell maybe at 20, maybe in the first round. Maybe he falls to the second. Xavier Worthy on day 2, the other wide receiver. Jatavian Sanders, the tight end. I think he's going to go day 2. I think he's going to be really good. Big fan of that kid. Fought his ass off, kept developing, all that. I don't know about Brooks. I know a lot of people are high on Brooks. I don't even I watch every snap of every Texas game my entire life. I didn't even know that he was the best back on the team at certain points. I liked Blue and Baxter. So maybe they like Brooks. I don't know when he's going to go. Could be day 3 for all I know. So those are probably the horns that you're looking at. And maybe Jordan Whittington undrafted. I think he can do a lot of things. He's probably a little bit more of a team-wide 2 out of 3 phase contributor than Mechie. And I don't even know that he's a worse receiver than him at this point. Also can line up in the backfield. Maybe they like Whittington as a late round bargain. You think we get rid of Mechie? I don't know. I think he's going to have to fight for his gig. Did the salary cap increase really do anything for signing more players, or does it just add a couple million? I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody has it. You know? I mean, is it cool to have more money? Yes, but everybody has it. Get a decent to good wide receiver in free agency or draft, but got to get a star running back. That's more realistic than we need an Andre Johnson type. Zay says, I'm feeling Patrick Queen is the top priority in free agency. Okay. I mean, if D'Amico wants it, okay, I can be sold on it. I'm very opposed. That's actually kind of my hell no. I think that's a little wild, but maybe that's what they're going to do. Patrick Queen. Okay, we'll see. Have you seen any leaks of the new unis? No, and nobody has, except J.J. Watt and a few select people. So, yeah. We had a 900-yard rusher last season. To me, that's not horrible in my eyes. I just feel Patrick Queen would be top priority over Saquon or Josh. Swift would be better. Why are we even comparing Patrick Queen and Saquon? They're not even like in the same, like it's not even the same. Like they're not, how does that impact it? Like, how can you not get both Queen and Saquon? Saquon's not, I mean, Patrick Queen's going to get damn near twice that much. Why are we picking between that? Like, if you want to pick between Patrick Queen and Mike Evans or Patrick Queen and Wilkins or something like that, that's fine. Why are we picking between Patrick Queen and Saquon? How much pull will CJ have in the draft process? If he requests a guy like he did Tank, even in the first round, they'll pull the trigger regardless. I don't know. I think Bobby's going to have a little bit more too, I would say. But we'll see. I appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like the video once you get out of here. Much appreciated. Tomorrow, the Xavier Howard sign or decline situation. We'll also get into this war on philosophies with John Lopez next week. And I appreciate everyone for coming through. This has been The Locker Room on YouTube. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610, and the Odyssey app. Going to Cookout tomorrow. Going to enjoy my weekend. Hope you enjoy yours. And then business is going to pick up. There's going to be a lot of news next week, a lot of leaks, a lot of chatter. Because the NFL Combine is upon us. And before we know it, free agency is going to smack us in the face. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Much appreciation, much love. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for coming up.
Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk.